Taking a peek at the 10.25-inch infotainment system inside of the Hyundai Elantra. The Elantra does technically feature two different screens, so it's going to be a smaller 8-inch screen in some of the lower trims. But for the most part though, you're going to find this larger 10.25-inch one across the majority of the lineup. The smaller screen has wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, versus this one is a wired connection instead. But let's dive in. I'll show you everything that you need to know. So starting off, this is going to be the home screen that you're typically met with when the vehicle's first turned on. And one thing to point out, this is also the N trim level of the vehicle, so that's why there's this dedicated N mode. If you're in the lower trims, you're not going to have this one. You have to be in the N specifically, but I'll save this until last. Along the very top, you've got this icon in order to jump between different profiles. So there are 3 individual options available. So it's either guest, driver 1, or driver 2. So that's the max number of profiles that you can have. One of the big benefits of having the driver profile set up is you'd be able to do things like link your key if you wanted to. You'd be able to have it remember all of your presets for the radio, your phones that were connected, and things like that. But if you're the only one driving, not a big deal. You can hit this home icon to get back to this home screen. Swipe across, hit the hamburger icon to turn the display off. Back on again. You can edit the icons as well. So you can hit the edit button there, or you can just do a long push and hold in order to get to this screen instead. And then from there, you can just drag along in order to customize it and really make this your own. So you just have to push and hold until it's loose, and then you can drag it around to customize it and then reset it back to the default instead. So I like that you can adjust the layout here. You can hit this button to get to the QR code as well, and that's going to be for the owner's manual. So if this video doesn't help out, you're going to be able to find out more information about the vehicle, so things like maintenance schedules and things like that. You can see the current time, your current date, and then hitting the time gets you to the option of adjusting the time if you'd like to, your current connection level, and then if you've got a phone on the wireless charge pad. So if you take it off, that goes away, back on to support wireless charging. If your phone supports it, boom, that's going to show up. And let's dive in and I'll show you everything that you need to know. So you've got the map mode and that factory navigation, which is very useful. There's a little arrow along the side. You can push that in order to be able to hide or show factory navigation. You can also swipe up and down to get to a few different views on top of that. But the full screen map looks great. You can hit the home icon to get back to the home screen. Map button pressed there. Hit this in order to change your different heading modes. Navigation volumes, what volume do you want to get for your voice, and then for tone. So if you're coming to an upcoming turn, do you want to get voice or tone notifications? And you can disable it if you wanted to. You could zoom in and out this way if you want, but you can also do pinch to zoom. The second that you start dragging along though, it essentially goes under the assumption that this is where you want to travel to. So in order to cancel that out, just hit the little home icon there, or I should say the little icon along the top there, your like Star Trek-y symbol, to get back to this screen instead. We've obviously got the current time menu that gives you a boatload of options, so saving locations, turning the display off, things like that. You can search for addresses this way, so GPS coordinates, you could go latitude first, longitude second, if you wanted to be able to search by GPS coordinates. You can also start typing in an address. You can type in point of interest icons there as well. There we go. So you can see there all of the different options available for Tim Hortons. Let's go number 5. And then from there, set it as a destination. Let's deactivate and no, just because it's a press car, that's why that came up. And you can see if there were different routes available, those would show up there as well. And then you can also add in a waypoint. So this is your end destination, but let's say on the route, if you wanted to stop at a gas station, and we're going to search. Oh, perfect, even better for gas stations. And let's just randomly grab one here and hit OK. Oh, waypoint 1 is too close. Yeah, because they're right across the street from each other. That makes sense. All right, let's do this one instead. And back, and perfect. So let's calculate. There we go. So it's telling us the recommended route in order to go where we want to go. You can avoid certain things on the route. So if you wanted to avoid ferries, toll roads, HOV lanes, things like that, and then just start guidance.
The route guidance will start now.
There we go. Then one nice thing is that once you've got guidance set up inside of the cluster screen, so if you do have factory navigation, you could select through until you get to the route. And when you do that, there we go, you've got your turn-by-turn directions there as well. So it shows you where you need to go. Very useful, but obviously if you don't have factory navigation, that wouldn't show up. And that just supports factory navigation. So if you're using Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze, that's not going to show up inside of the cluster screen. So it's strictly going to be for factory nav. You can cancel in order to cancel the route very simply there. And searching for addresses, you can see the addresses that we've previously gone to. You can add in a home or work address. And one of the big benefits there is that you could hit the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, and you'd be able to say things like navigate home, navigate to work, whatever the case may be, and it's going to navigate to whatever those saved addresses are. And back home leads us into navigation menu. So you can search this way if you want to. You can look at point of interest icons, look at previous destinations. You can delete your previous destinations, select all and delete. And it's that simple to remove previous destinations. Moving back, you can look at Hyundai dealerships. If you had an active route going, you could cancel the route, look at the overview. You could show traffic and then add in up to 3 individual, technically 5 favorites. So you've got your home or work, but you could set that up for whatever address that you'd like to. Then there are a series of additional navigation settings. So do you want to show your vehicle speed inside of the map? Yay, nay. Guidance, do you want to avoid things on the route? So ferries, toll roads, carpool lanes, things like that. Nothing exciting there. Alert, same idea, nothing exciting. Map mode, so you can change between 2D, 3D, etc. I personally am a bigger fan of the 3D, but that's going to be a matter of preference. You can choose the map color. The dark one looks pretty good. In my opinion, that one's going to be a matter of preference. You can also change the font size. So if you're finding it a little bit too hard to read the default font size, you can adjust it there. Auto features, GPS information. You can see where you're located. So if you've run into an issue with your vehicle, need to call a tow, you can give them your actual latitude and longitude. From there, previous destinations, you can have it so that it doesn't remember them. So that's really good from a general safety perspective. So if you deselect that one, any routes that you've previously looked at are not going to be saved in. And that's the basics of using factory navigation. It's really straightforward. Next up is going to be adding in a phone.
From your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
So as of right now, you can see that there are no phones that are connected. So on your phone, all you're going to do, go into your Bluetooth settings, and you're waiting for the Elantra N to show up. Pins match up, so let's pair. There we go. And do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. Obviously, if it was yours, you could say yes to that. But we are fully connected now. So it said unsuccessful because I said no when that message came up. But if your contacts were there, they would show up. You've got the dial pad, your phone name, your connection and battery level there as well. So your phone is technically connected. Then you can do a little split screen here if you wanted to. And we're connected over Bluetooth, so you could stream audio this way if you want to. But there is also the option for Apple CarPlay. And inside of this 10.25-inch screen, it is a wired connection. And you have to make sure that you've got a USB cable that supports data transfer. So there are 2 different types of cables, one that supports data, one that doesn't support data. So if you are running into issues with your Elantra not connecting to your phone for CarPlay specifically, check down in the description of the video for a walkthrough. But otherwise, all you're doing, plugging yourself in, and it'll take a second there. Do you want to allow CarPlay with the Elantra while the phone is locked? Yes, you want to do that. Otherwise, if the phone's locked, CarPlay just wouldn't work. And look at that. Boom, fully connected. You've got your current time and date, which map was open last, which audio application was open last, which miscellaneous application was open last. And then you can hit a little icon view, back to a home view, and then swipe across from there. The home screen that you're going to be met with here is going to be dynamic just based off of a few things. So I don't know why it's doing that. Apple CarPlay is going crazy right now. All right, so I definitely don't have Justin Timberlake on here. It's just that for some reason. It's just being super odd. Très bizarre right now, but this screen is going to be slightly dynamic in the sense that whatever map is open last there, that would show up. If you don't have an upcoming calendar today, that wouldn't be there. So it would just be these 2 options stretched across instead. So you can search and then swiping across gets you to this icon view as well. You've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze inside of the Apple CarPlay side of things, but no pinch to zoom capabilities. You've got to zoom in and out this way. Apple Maps is good. Google Maps, in my opinion, is better. You can search for addresses, you can look at things on the route, so avoiding highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that. Change out your map colors, show traffic, adjust volume. Really straightforward. But my personal go-to in every vehicle that I drive, I love using Waze. And there's a few big reasons why. So you can see there different Waze users along the route. So it's going to tell you what the active speed is that people are traveling on the route as you go. If there are police that are pulling people over, you could notify people, and people tend to notify you as well. If there are hazards, if there are crashes, block lanes, things like that. So it is very straightforward using these apps. But like I said, for navigation, Waze is my way to go. You've got things like podcasts that you can use on the phone as well. So if you're a fan of listening to podcasts on the road, you've got Hoopla, which is a library app, Live One, which is a radio app. So there are a ton of different audio apps that are available inside of this vehicle. And then miscellaneous apps like YouTube Music and things like that. I will point out, you unfortunately don't have video playback capability inside of this screen. So it's strictly going to be audio. So I'd love to see video, not there as of yet. Now, if you wanted to, you could also customize this screen. So on your phone, you're going to go into General, CarPlay, you're going to find your vehicle. You can forget the car, you can customize the screen, or allow CarPlay while the phone is locked. We want to customize, and let's say if you love your podcasts and you want to have Waze at the top, you can essentially just button press and then drag and drop the little hamburger icon there to customize it. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen. So there are lots of options there that you can delete, and it fully removes them, but it saves it on the phone, so you can add them back in if you want to. But if you've played around with the layout too much and you don't like what you've done, you can hit reset along the top of the phone, reset, and that's just going to bring you back to the factory default screen there instead. Now, on the center stack, if you hit setup, device connections, and if we go phone projection, we can't adjust anything because we're connected. But if you disconnect, projection settings, and then CarPlay, you can use split screen as well. And you can also disable. So when you're plugged in, CarPlay wouldn't work. You could just hook yourself up over Bluetooth. But using CarPlay split screen now, watch this. So we plug in, and CarPlay is now connected. So it's just going to take a second. Go back home and jump into CarPlay. So now you've got this little split screen. So you could use CarPlay on the one side while you're using other options for the vehicle on the right side instead. So CarPlay, regular. It's kind of neat. But let's say if you wanted to maybe use CarPlay in order to listen to podcasts and things like that, but you wanted to use factory navigation, you could do that. So you can kind of do this little mix and match there instead. I tend not to be a big fan of the split screen, but that's going to be a matter of personal preference. From here, when you're connected, you could do a long button press and hold in order to activate your Siri assistant. If you do a short button press, that's going to launch into your vehicle assistant instead, but the long push and hold launches your assistant. And then we're just going to disconnect, and we're going to go into setup and device connections, Bluetooth projection, and then I love using the full screen instead, but that's how you set up Apple devices inside of the Elantra. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. All you're going to do is go to phone, and as of right now, I'm still connected to the iPhone. So what we're going to do, go into setup, device connections, and then you've got the iPhone that's connected. So we're just going to hit add new.
Turn Bluetooth on from your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
From there, what you're going to do is look for the Elantra. Elantra is there, and PIN numbers match up, so we're going to pair. There we go. And we're now connected. And as you can see there, you've got both phones. So you could do a drag and drop there to see who gets connection priority. And then one cool thing is that you can have one phone connected for phone calls and one phone connected for media. So you can do kind of a mix and match here. So it can either be Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but you can do one or the other this way instead. And then if you go back home, phone, now on the phone there, and it's asking me, do I want to allow access to contacts and messages?
Some phone.
It's eventually going to say no or it failed because I selected no there, but the phone is connected now. You've got your dial pad with all of your basic phone information. And then very similar to the iPhone. All right, I was waiting for that to come up. So it said no again because when I connected my phone, I said no there. And now it's asking for access to my messages. Same thing. I'm saying no, so it'll pop up with another error. But Android Auto is also going to be wired inside of this version of the screen. Like I said, the smaller screen is wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but this is wired. You just want to make sure it's got that data transfer icon. Same idea, plugging down the center stack and plugging yourself in. Bam. Okay. And Android Auto would like to, so we're just going to hit next there. It should just take a second, and look at that. 3, 2, 1, we are fully connected to Android Auto. So you've got your current connection level, battery level, time, maps, and things like that. You've got your voice command prompt there. So a little hot button press, or you can do a longer push and hold on the steering wheel in order to activate your assistant that way instead. But we're connected. Now there's a little split screen here, but if you want to, you can hit the little map icon to go full screen, Google Maps, and it's full pinch to zoom capabilities as well. I love that that's available. You can search for addresses. You could hit this little gear icon to do things like adjust, show traffic, 3D options. If you wanted to avoid things on your route like highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do it. And then back. And then if you hit this button there, that goes you back to your split screen. You can go to this little icon view instead. And then Waze is showing up. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android, but it's not showing up on the screen there, check down in the description of the video. I put together a little walkthrough explaining how to actually add Waze inside of the screen or Android devices if it's not showing up. But you can also customize this a little bit. So on your phone, if you go into Android Auto, so you're going to search for Android Auto settings, and that's going to pull you up to this screen. And you've got a boatload of different options available. What you're going to do is go to Customize Launcher, and same idea. So we've got all of these plus buttons that you could remove things from the screen if you want to, and then anything with this little icon here, so you can just drag and drop around in order to customize the overall layout if you'd like to. Now, it's not dynamic the same way it was on the iPhone side of things. So in order to adjust, all you're going to do, unplug, plug back in, and this is just for those changes to come into effect. So see here in a second, we launch in and we've got the adjustments that we've made there. So it is nice that you can customize the screen. I would like to see it dynamic the same way on the iPhone side of things, but it's at least there. You can hit setup down the middle there again. Actually, let's disconnect here. Device connections, and we go device connections. We've got both phones that are connected. You can hit delete devices, mark all and delete, and let's go yes. And it's deleted both devices from the vehicle. And it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the Elantra. And moving back home. So phone projection, that's going to show either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. I'm not plugged in, so that's not going to show anything there. There are voice memos as well. So if you wanted to record a voice memo right to the screen, you've got that flexibility. You can adjust climate here on top of that. So climate is kind of neat. So you can adjust it easily this way if you'd like to. You can turn it into an auto mode. You can have it going to windshield face feet, some sort of Frankenstein combination of all of the above. You can adjust your fan speed as well. Automatic defog, defrost, and things like that. So there are climate controls available right through the screen, which is useful. But just down the center stack, you've also got a boatload of options available here too. So there's dual zone climate control. You can sync up the passenger side to whatever the driver's side is very simply there, hitting that button. Toggle the systems off, adjust your fan speed, have it going to your face feet, things like that as well. And then heated seats and a bunch of other options, heated steering wheel, all that fun stuff. But it is kind of nice because you can do some advanced settings here on the screen and then just your main settings down below. Hitting this button gets you into some additional climate settings, which we'll touch on as we get deeper into the setup. Valet mode is going to give you the flexibility of being able to lock the screen out, set up limitations. Quiet mode is going to essentially turn down the speakers, and it only plays through the front speakers instead. So if you've got kids that are sleeping in the back, you can have it in a quiet mode. There's HD radio data, a physical radio as well. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM as well. You can easily adjust out this way. You can hit station list to see what stations are available. So if you're new to an area and you're not sure what's available, you can hit whatever station there, and then you can also just do a refresh there to see what stations are based off of your GPS area or where you're currently located. SiriusXM is available here, and on any of these stations, you'll see this little star with a plus icon. That essentially means that we're looking at, so it's going to take a bit to search because I've moved to a new area, but there we go. So you've got this little plus button there for you to be able to save in stations. So anyone that has the plus icon there, you can save it and then minus to remove it instead. And that's going to save it as a preset. So you've got all of your presets there. You can reorder this way, or let's do that like that. Button press the hamburger icon in order to drag them around to whatever option or whatever order that you'd like, and then just push back. And one of the big benefits of setting up the presets inside the vehicle is that on the steering wheel, so you've got a few different buttons along the left pad there, but you've got the flexibility of pushing up and down in order to jump between your presets. You can also do a push and hold in order to be able to seek. So it is kind of nice. It's a fairly fast seek, so you've got to be able to jump off there. But you can also hit the voice command prompt if you wanted to change stations that way instead. From there, back into radio. Let's see, you can search for different stations this way and hit OK. From there, if we go station list, let's go to SiriusXM for a second, because you've got all of your different SiriusXM stations. You can go channels, channel number, prioritize presets. So nothing too exciting there, but that's using the radio. It's very simple to be able to do it. Hitting this gives you a boatload of other options, so you can scan SiriusXM channels if you'd like to. You can delete presets and things like that. And actually, on that note, if we go into FM for a second, that gives us other options here too. So you can scan FM, you can tune manually to a station instead this way if you'd like. Kind of neat, just a different way to do it. And then you've got a bunch of sound settings as well, which we'll dive into in just a second. Setup is available, but before we get there, there are options for media here too. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM if you were hooked up to Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth if you were hooked up over your phone, USB, and sounds of nature. So if you want just like those more relaxing sounds instead, because things are chaotic on the highway, you've got that available. There's Blue Link, notifications, and then a digital owner's manual as well. So if you wanted to, you could just scan that QR code on your phone, and that's going to pull up your owner's manual on Hyundai's website. So you can see there, all different options. So if this video didn't help out, you can scan through to get to other options there. And diving into setup, where there are a boatload of other options. You could search for any settings. So if you knew what you were looking for, like let's say if you knew that you wanted to get to ambient light, you could start typing it in. You can toggle the display off, turn it back on again, and then you've got a boatload of other options. So vehicle, with vehicle settings. And as we dive in, let's dive in and start off on driver safety. So, tons of different options. You've got speed limit offset. So if you're okay with going a little bit over or under the speed limit to get warnings or not. And then with the speed limit assist, if the speed, let's say goes from 60 down to 50, you could then push the button here. So you could go down in order to jump down. If your speed goes from 50 to 60, you could push up in order for the vehicle to bring you up to that set speed instead. I'm personally a fan of just saying no to that one, but that one's a matter of preference. Do you want to get warnings, yay or nay? Park safety priorities. So let's say if you're pulling into a spot or backing up, if you've got the sensing system, it's going to lower the volumes for you to hear different options there. Leading vehicle departure is an interesting one. So if you come down to a complete stop and then the vehicle in front of you starts driving away and you haven't started moving, you're going to get a little notification in the cluster letting you know. Forward safety, if there's a potential collision, it can automatically brake for you. Lane safety, if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to nudge you back into your lane. And that one's different than the lane follow assist. So there's the lane safety that's going to nudge you back into your lane. And then there's the lane follow assist, which is going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. Not fully self-driving, but I mean, it is really cool being able to go around bends. You can take your hands off the steering wheel and the car keeps you perfectly balanced. There's blind spot safety there as well. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it's going to highlight red along the side view in order to give you a heads up and let you know. Parking safety, rear cross traffic alert. So you can adjust the camera settings if you want to. So your rear parking line. So as we shift into reverse there, so those are your parking lines. So whether or not that one shows up. And then these lines here, if you've got the forward sensing and the reverse sensing system, that'll show up there instead. You can adjust the brightness of the camera if you'd like to. Rear cross traffic alert, when you're backing up, if somebody comes perpendicular, so from the left or the right, it can let you know of a potential collision. And driver attention warning, which you've already seen. So you can dive into any of these settings a little bit differently if you'd like to. So it's kind of neat the way that Hyundai has this set up. Drive mode is available. So if you've adjusted your drive mode, inside of most trim levels of the Elantra, your drive mode selector is going to be just down by the center stack there. So above the shifter, so you'd be able to change between your eco, normal, or sport mode down the middle there instead. But because this is the end version, these ones are just programmed in to do that instead. But otherwise, it's going to be just down the center stack there. Active sound design is available too. So if you wanted a little bit more of an aggressive sound inside of the vehicle, You can adjust that out as well. Ooh, rally, nice. Cluster screen. You can also adjust a boatload of settings here. So you can adjust the brightness of the screen this way if you'd like to, but just down by your left knee, there's a switch there that you can utilize in order to be able to adjust the brightness as well. I always just recommend maximum brightness there. You can adjust your theme selection. So as a default, I love the layout here, but if we look at, so that's the N mode of the vehicle. And again, if you don't have the N trim level, you're not going to be able to get access to this mode. It's going to look like this. So you've got a few different options there, but you can go cube mode instead if you wanted to see a very different representation of your speed and your RPM counter too. Kind of neat, a little funky. I'm not too crazy about it. I prefer the typical like tachometer, speedometer view instead. You can reset fuel economy. There's content warning, and then a welcome sound when you first go to start the vehicle up. But if you want to walk through on the steering wheel and cluster specifically, you'll find it down in the description of this video. There are options for climate as well, so recirculate air, etc. I always just recommend keeping these ones turned on. Options for light, so ambient lights available in some trim levels of the vehicle. You can adjust the brightness of the ambient light. You can adjust the color of the ambient light, including your own customized color too. So if you prefer certain colors, yeah, you can just kind of see it changing there, but I'll throw some B-roll on there of what it looks like at night. It looks really, really good. Love the way that Hyundai's done this. And then back, you can also link it to your drive mode. So if you want your color to change up, so if you're in the sport mode versus normal versus eco mode, it's going to adjust out the color. And do you want it to dim when it's too dark out? Let's see, turn signals by default. It's going to be 3 flashes, but you can have it as 1, 3, 5, or 7. A welcome light on the outside when you come to approach the vehicle, which at night, paired with that ambient light, the walk-up looks pretty good. Headlamp delay when you go to lock the vehicle. Do you want the lamps to stay on for you? And then there's high beam assist. So high beam assist is kind of a neat one. So on your left turn stick, you've got the option of going into an auto mode. And then when you push away, that's going to turn on the little button there. So it says auto. And what this means is that if the vehicle recognizes your high beams are needed, it's going to turn them on. If somebody's oncoming, it's going to dim them before turning them right back on again. It's a pretty useful setting. If you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out, just go into the top light mode, push away in order to get those high beams locked out. But in the auto mode, you've got the auto set up there, but you can always flash your high beams if you really wanted to. Door, when do you want the vehicle to automatically unlock? You've got a few other options, so smart trunk and remote window control. Let's hop outside and I'll show you how those ones work. And you've got to get at least 10 to 15 feet away for a few seconds. And as long as you've got the key fob on you, just going to walk up to the back end here. And there's kind of like a Goldilocks like sweet spot. So not too far away, not too close. Look at that. Trunk pops open automatically. So a nice smart trunk feature. There is one other cool trick, and that's utilizing the key fob to roll the windows down. So you're just going to push and hold the unlock button. And that's down it goes, and that's just going to be the driver's side window, push and hold in order to continue the process. So if you release the unlock button, it's going to stop it. Pushing the lock button, unfortunately, doesn't roll them up. So it's strictly going to be window down. I love those features. Remote window control is great. I love it if it was remote window up as well, but at least being able to vent the vehicle out, pretty useful. There's a digital key available in some vehicle or some trim levels, so you could use your phone as a key. I unfortunately can't show you how this one's set up because this is a press car, but if you wanted to see that, check down in the description of the video for a walkthrough video from Hyundai directly. Rear occupant alert, so if the back doors are open, you go to turn the vehicle off. You're going to get a little message in the cluster screen telling you to check the back seats. You can disable the wireless charge pad. So there is the little wireless charger down the center stack there, but if you didn't want to use it, so as of right now, it's active and you can see that it's actively charging and it's given us a little message in the screen. But you could toggle that system off completely if you wanted to. I don't know why you would, but you could if you really wanted to. And that's not it. No way. Did we get through everything? Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, there's no way. So yeah, so we got through all of our basic vehicle settings there. Yeah, there we go. And we've got navigation settings, which we've already seen, adjusting different things. You've got sound options here as well. So if you wanted to limit your startup volume, so if you've got the audio cranked, you got to turn the vehicle off and then back on again. It's not going to be cranked. Position, you can adjust the balance and the fade if you'd like to. Circle it in. You can have it focused on the driver, passengers, whatever the case may be. Tone lets you adjust the treble, mid-range, and bass. In this car, I found that the treble down by 3 and the bass cranked by 4 gives really, really good audio. That's going to be a matter of preference, but too high, I found the treble makes it too tinny. You don't want to go too low on the bass, whatever the case may be. So I found this setup tends to be pretty good. You can adjust different volumes as well. Guidance volumes, nothing exciting there. And then the priority sounds and things like that. So if you've got navigation priority going and your radio is cranked, coming to an upcoming turn, you're going to get a little, well, essentially what it's going to do is lower your radio volume so that you can hear that there's an upcoming turn. And then you've got all of these different options here. Radio noise, connected devices. You can set up the sound for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay for specific options. So you can adjust your media volume, navigation volume, and things like that, which is kind of cool. The beeping that we're getting there, if that drives you nuts, you can toggle it off. Matter of preference. Device connections, which we've already seen, with the exception of a few things. You've got Bluetooth prompts, but Bluetooth system info. So by default, the vehicle name is Elantra or Elantra N, whatever the case may be, but you can customize that in order to make it your own. Bob's ride, Sally's ride, whatever the case may be. And you can also set a unique passcode there too. User profile info, which we've already seen, so you can adjust your individual profile if you wanted to. So change the profile image. Unfortunately, you can't use a custom image, but kind of neat that's available. You can change the driver name, link your key as your phone as a key if you'd like to. Voice recognition. So there is the voice command prompt on the steering wheel here. So when you're hooked up through Android or iPhone devices, long button press, hold, it gives you the option for activating Google or Siri. Short button press brings you up to here.
Here are some of them.
And there are so many things. If you have factory navigation, you could go to a destination, you could go to contact settings, vehicle commands, you could turn on the air conditioning, you could lower or raise the temperature, turn the heated steering wheel on or off, turn on the heated seat warmers, things like that. There are so many things that you can do with your voice assistant. So one thing that I recommend is that when you get your Hyundai, jump in, play with the commands to see what you can do. But one thing I recommend, reduce the number of prompts, because when you push it and you do things like change songs, radio stations, things like that using your voice, it'll just do it. It won't tell you that it's doing it, it just happens. So it's a very useful setting there. Screen layout, which we've already seen these, so adjusting different views there. Screensaver is available, so when the screen's turned off, what do you want showing up? Do you want nothing? Do you want a digital clock or an analog clock with a unique watch face? So you've got different options there. So when you go to turn the display off, you've got a different look there. So that one's going to be a matter of personal preference for the look. And then split screen. So when you're on that split screen, what do you want showing up? And in which order do you want it showing up instead? So if we go back to the map for a second, you've got your split screen options available there. And back out into display. So display, we've already touched on adjusting brightness, but blue light filter is available there too. So later on at night, if you want to reduce the amount of eye strain, you can do that. And it gives you a little bit more of like a red tinge to the screen. So getting rid of the blue light. You can have it automatically come on or schedule it when it comes on as well. Adjusting the camera settings, which we've seen, and then buttons. So there are a few unique buttons inside of the vehicle. So there's one down the center stack there, and then there are 2 on the steering wheel. The ones on the steering wheel here adjust different things. So, and then, well, I guess technically because this is the end version of the vehicle, you can adjust these buttons too. So what do you want these things to do? So inside of the left end mode, do you want it to have custom options? Do you want it to go to the end drive mode, lap timer starts and things like that? But your custom button down the center, what do you want that one to do? Do you want it to go to your end mode? Do you want it to go home, turn the display off, whatever the case may be? So now we hit that button, display goes off. On the steering wheel, you hit that star icon. What does that do? Do you want it to reroute, cancel, whatever the case may be? None. How do you have it at none? Let's go home. And then your mode button on the steering wheel there, what does that do? So if you have a tendency to listen to FM, SiriusXM, and Sounds of Nature, you can select those options. And now when you hit the mode button, it's going to change you between all of those sources that you've selected. And you can select whichever ones you want to. The up and down button there, what do you want this one to do? So change the station or presets, and then the volume knob. Do you want it to be for volume or media, zoom in and out, whatever the case may be? Blue Link is available, and then your general settings as well. So you've got your basic firmware information where you can update the vehicle if it's available. You can look at system information, date and time, and that's grayed out because you're automatic. So if you deselect, you could then adjust the date and time manually yourself if you want to. The only time I recommend that is that if you are straddling a time zone, because you might find that if you straddle a time zone, it might constantly flip you back and forward. So you could lock it in to whatever time that you'd like. Do you want the 12-hour mode, 24 hours, or do you prefer that military time instead? And do you want to adjust for daylight savings time? Languages are available there. So do you want to be in English, French, Spanish, or Korean? You can adjust your keyboard. Units is a useful one as well. So as a default there, you can see that we're in kilometers, but you can also have it set up for miles. And it changes it out inside of the cluster screen. And then when you've got the climate control adjusted, it even adjusts that out down the center as well. So Celsius versus Fahrenheit. You can adjust out, do you want to be in liters per 100, kilometers liters, PSI, kPa bar, boost options? These ones are because it's the N version of the vehicle. And then different media options. Do you want the radio off when you turn the vehicle on? Do you want to continue playing when the vehicle's turned off? So it's going to stay on for a few minutes and then reset. So if you're in the guest profile, you won't be able to adjust the screen out, or reset, I should say, everything. So you'd just be able to delete the guest profile info, but logged in here, you could delete everything and just bring it back to a factory default instead. So if you're selling your car, that's the way you're going to go. And then lastly is going to be the N mode. So you've got your throttle, you can see there as you go, lap timers if you have that available. Really cool. You can record manually, automatically as you go. Your brake pressure, you can see what your braking levels are at. So very useful if your plan is to track the car. And then you've got a few custom modes that are available. So you do have your main N mode inside of the screen, or inside of the vehicle. So you hit N, and that's going to essentially turn you into this screen here, which I mean, damn, that looks good. Really cool. And then you've got custom modes available here as well. So what do you want your custom modes to be like? The N essentially is the way that this is set up, but you could adjust your traction control, stability control, G-force meters. You can have your custom options set up here. You can hit this button in order to show you what each one does on each level. So it really you can customize this to make it your own. So if you wanted to have different sounds, actually on the sound one, it does sound pretty neat. So let's hop outside. I want to show you what these sound like. So that's pretty cool, especially coming from a Hyundai. Like you just wouldn't expect it. Rev matching's a neat one because this is the manual transmission. So as you go to shift down, you'll notice that the revs automatically pop up. You're not going to have that in the automatic transmission, but the manual does, including launch control. And then there are different performance options as well. So which RPM do you want to be set up for launch control? Do you want to get your shift lights, yay, nay, and then active sound design on top of that. So it is kind of cool that different options are available specifically for the N. And then down the center stack, you can see there, so your push button start, you've got a hot button press to get to your map, to your navigation options, radio. If you wanted to button press for your media, you could turn the display on off, adjust your volume that way. You can seek for stations. There's a custom button that we've set up to turn the screen into this mode. And then you can jump into your setup there as well. And then as you jump down the center, so you do have, as I mentioned earlier, so you've got some climate settings through the screen, but down the middle here, you've got a boatload of other options that are available. And you've got dual zone climate control. You could sync up the passenger side to whatever the driver's side set to. You can toggle it on off. You've also got a heated steering wheel, adjust your fan speed, and a few other things as well. And then down the center, there's a 12-volt power point, USB charge, or USB cable, I should say, so a port specifically for your data transfer. And then the other one is going to be for charging instead. If the infotainment system inside of your Elantra is giving you issues, you could go to Setup, General, Reset, and then you could reset all in order to bring it back to the factory default instead. That should solve any problems that you're having, but it's also going to delete all the information from the vehicle. Not ideal. So what you're going to do is get a paper clip or something that's small enough to be able to fit into that little hole right above the setup there. So some versions of different Hyundais are going to be in different spots. This one's here. It might be next to a volume rocker if that's down here, but the spacing or the position of that is going to depend on which vehicle that you're in. So because this is the Elantra, all you're going to do, button press there. You can see that was quick. The screen's turned off and it's going to go through a little boot cycle here. And that should solve any problems that you're getting. I know that's a lot of information. That's everything that you need to know about the infotainment system inside of the Elantra.